Welcome to another program of Centrally Speaking.
The program that opens up the conversation around important matters of economics and finance, matters of national importance that have an impact on your life. I'm Anna.
And I'm Sheena. Anna, we're here, season 6. Yes, Jamaica is actually season 6. And we are so happy you could join us again. And welcome aboard to those of you who are just joining us for the very, very first time.
Good to have you.
Yeah, we hope you stick around.
And stay with us. So, Sheena, you play sports?
Yes.
You play sports at Glenmuir?
Yes, I did.
Which sport?
Track and field.
You play track and field?
Yes, and netball.
You the track and field and netball?
Yes.
Wouldn't believe her?
I believe me.
We don't believe you.
And Glenmuir believes me.
Oh, gosh.
What you play?
I don't see you.
Yeah, I believe you. And Arden believes her. Always hiding. Where you hide from the teacher?
You're good. A PE teacher.
All right, now fun and joke aside, hide and seek aside.
No plaything.
We're found. And we have a great show lineup for you today because Carole Beckford will be here with us, and she is a sports researcher, marketer, and author. Carole is one of Jamaica's leading proponents on how to use sports as a vehicle for economic advancement. Anna, you ever think of sports as a business?
Evidently it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, evidently it is. Especially if you do well, you're at the top of the game, the earning potential is
great.
It's astronomical.
Yeah.
But before we hear from Carole, we want to hear what you think. What do you like about sports? It's time for the street check.
I think that as a nation, we need to place more value on our sports from an early age because our youth are gifted, they're talented, they have abilities that can transcend them from one level to the other.
I feel like if the government go to school them, high school them and thing, and them give the boy them incentive to play ball and run, them would have more interested because you have man where I try, you know, I get money and I grew up in a school and thing, and them more better themselves in their life. So if the government give them incentive through ball and them something, them will go want to do it more and them will get better athletes out there.
Simple reinvestment, develop the sports, not just at the champs level, but at the adult level. Once they graduate from high school, starting to run as a professional athletes, develop it.
Facilities could be upgraded as well. That's a very big part to play because if you look at the training facilities that most of the athletes have in Jamaica, they're not that good.
We need to improve the facilities, but also improve coaching and the transition. We have a lot of junior talent, but the transition between the junior level to the senior level is a huge gap.
One other thing I think Jamaica need to view sports not just as entertainment, but as an investment itself. In the developed world, such as Europe and in the Americas, sports is seen as a business. And until Jamaica adapt that kind of ideology and invest more in the infrastructure and also in the athletes themselves, let them see that there's an incentive towards this career path if you choose, then I think you'll see a huge difference in person's approach to sports.
And now it's time to meet our special guest. Let me give you a hint. She is a sports researcher, marketer, and author. Welcome to Centrally Speaking, none other than Carole Beckford.
Thanks for having me.
So, Carole, you are one of the leading voices in using sports to facilitate economic development. Share with us your views in relation to sports as an economic driver.
Well, one of the things about sports is that it has wide participation. So there's participation from the athletes, there is participation from the fans, and of course the economic activities, which includes government and private sector. So those are the three major elements that could help. Certainly Jamaica has a rich history. I mean, it goes all the way back to 1928 when West Indies, we became part of West Indies cricket.
Okay.
But in later years, when you talk about things like World Cup football, which is one of the most popular game and competitions in the world, Jamaica has been making considerable contribution to economics of sports globally, and also here in Jamaica.
So Carole, talking about globally, from your research, are there any developing countries that have used sports as an economic driver, and what did they do and how did they do it?
So countries like Malaysia and Singapore have used things like golf and niche sports, and they have also had creative ways to engage other specialists from outside, where they bring in coaches to try to engage from the lowest level.
Okay.
But when you look at a bigger country like India that focuses on cricket, with that big population, they can afford to do pretty much anything they need. So they have the IPL, for example, which is the Indian Premier League,
right.
and they get cricketers from all over the world. What that does is that they engage the private and public sector in things like tax breaks, waivers, and so on. So because they have the eyes and the ears of the people, you know, you talk about things like television rights, broadcast rights, you know, the standard games are watched by millions of people across the world.
Okay.
And so that's when they're bringing in equipment, certainly things that they don't make within their country, they apply for tax waivers and tax breaks. So those are the models moving into the 21st century, where, you know, countries can get that kind of incentive to match sports. Some of the things that we have recommended here in Jamaica, because clearly we're a developing economy, and, you know, 1.16 billion was the last allocation in the previous financial year, and that has grown from in 1990 when it was about $10 million. So look how far we've come. And in 1995, when the SDF started, which was created to fund sport in Jamaica, you know, it came from the lottery exploits. And so over the years, we have been finding more and more creative ways. But with that, we have had tremendous success. And so there's always requirement for more funding. So we're going to have to be very creative to know how to fund sports.
We have participated in Jamaica in just about every sport, right? And we have produced a few elite athletes in some sports. Talk to us about our medal tally, and also talk to us a little bit about how we can monetize some of our successes.
Since 1948, we've been going to the Summer Olympic Games. We have 88 medals in total. But that is track and field.
Okay.
Let me give you a context. Track and field is only very popular during the Olympic Games.
Okay.
And so, although we do very well at it, it is not among the elite sports. The top 10 sports runs from football, cricket, tennis, car racing, golf, and so on. And so, while our athletes do well at the elite level, you know, Herb McKinley and Arthur Wint had their very first set of medals in 1948, up to the last one where Shelley and Fraser Price, Elaine Thompson, and so on. But the World Cup, the impact of going to the World Cup of football has been more significant, believe it or not, when the men went in 98, because football is still the most highly ranked sport globally.
Okay.
And so even if you place 80th or wherever the ranking are now for the women, I think it's about 37,
Yes.
the return on the investment for football is actually greater. In the last 20 years, we have grown significantly with men and women playing in international outfits, and I think the number is just over 400. And it's almost equal where we have men and women playing international football. Of course, the most popular, it would be Leon Bailey, who plays for Aston Villa and so on. So those are some of the elite athletes. Over the years, we have had people like Dustin Brown in tennis, Pine and Nigella Saunders back in the days of badminton.
Yes.
I see we're getting into curling now, and we won a world championship medal preparation coming into that. So we're expanding our reach, we're making impact, and that in itself is significant. But yet we're still required funding. The value added for the earnings, we have to host more events, and we have to make more money from broadcast rights, because that is actually what pays the athletes.
Okay.
So when the NFL, for example, can attract over $1 billion in broadcast rights, one station, so Fox Sports gets it for $1.6 billion. It then sells it to NBC for Sunday Night Football, sends it to ESPN for Monday Night Football, and so on. So it breaks it up. So and that is where the athletes get the income. So if we're not able to attract high levels of broadcast rights, then we're in some trouble.
But how do we attract this high level of broadcast rights?
Invest in the venues, because you know, you can't, if you go to somewhere and you have the top of the line venues, you, not because Jamaica's brand is so strong, we have to be able to make all the provisions for everybody to be here.
Okay.
We have to have hotel rooms. We have to have the venue itself has to be ready
Right.
for media and so on. I mean, you're looking at 16 cameras to do things like even boys and girls jumps, for
Right,
example.
right.
I mean, we're moving from 9 cameras to 11. I think we're now at 16. And so production-wise and technical-wise, we have the people, but there's some infrastructure work that's required to make it more meaningful.
Okay.
So we can get international events here.
We are speaking with Carole Beckford, sports researcher, marketer, and author. Centrally Speaking will be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Centrally Speaking. Our conversation with Carole Beckford, sports researcher, marketer, and author, has been very interesting. Like, we now know that football is the #1 sport in Jamaica. We thought it was track and field.
Yeah.
We continue the discussion with Carole now.
All right. So, Carole, before the break, you told us about venue as one of the key things to facilitate us hosting. Are there any other things we need to be mindful of to ensure that we encourage more hosting of events or sporting events in Jamaica?
Yeah, man, our surfaces form part of the very important aspect of venue.
Okay.
So let's talk about track and field a little bit. The track at the stadium was, I think, came after Berlin. So it was somewhere around 2009, 2010.
Okay.
So that means that that track is 15 years wear and tear. With climate change and with all of those things, if you have an overhead shot of the stadium, you can actually see the patches in the blue track. And so what that means is that there's consistent pounding. So those things have to be redone. And it's actually time for a new track. In terms of football, because when we go abroad, we play on great surfaces. So we have to make sure that our surfaces are at least consistent with what's, available internationally. So things like our curators, or groundsmen, that's what we call them, they have to be on top of their game. Sabina Park, despite not being used for cricket a lot over the years, still produces a wicket that is attractive for batsmen.
Okay.
And so even with the 4-day cricket now happening in Jamaica, it actually produces competition between, top and tail and so on. So the surfaces are critical. In light of climate change, though, some of the things, irrigation, we have to take into consideration. A lot more cricket clubs, for example, are building wells because it's part of producing their own water so that the fields can be properly watered.
Okay.
Because with the temperatures getting hotter, those things have to be taken into consideration. So what was an issue years ago with grass and the Bermuda grass and all them kind of things, it's now about the heat and the kind of heat that's happening now. I mean, the surfaces have to be properly hydrated, so to speak.
Okay.
So let us shift the conversation, Carole, to the athletes themselves. How can athletes start to reset their minds to think about sports as a business and not only something that they do?
All right, so a critical part, of course, is performance. So they have to do well in their respective sports. And they will attract the regular brand. So the shoe brand, the gear brand, and all that kind of stuff. That's basic. Isotonic, things like, and I don't want to use names just in case I'm giving any free promos, but the things that give you restore and energy, right? So those are the basic things. Cars, watches, those are standard. But they have to go more into the non-traditional. They need to form relationships with even organizations that support sports, so foundations. And a critical part of what your work says, you must create a foundation. And that is when you start to attract the human side of things. Jamaica's population, however, is not necessarily the most competitive when it comes on to purchasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have to coordinate and combine with brands that are in other markets and people that love us, so those people can purchase. Our purchasing power is only as strong as our population.
Yeah.
And although we have 3 million other people possibly living outside, it is still not strong enough. So a part of that is really to go into markets that love the brand Jamaica and are willing to purchase merchandise, paraphernalia, and even invest in businesses that you have.
Okay. So how can we now translate this business of sports to the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, for example?
Oh boy, this is a passion of mine. So I'm a PE teacher, I actually went to Jamaica and studied physical education.
Okay.
That must be important, right? If you have a school that's over 600 students, you're entitled to at least 4 physical education teachers
Okay.
at the high school level 6. So the Ministry of Education will have to coordinate with the Ministry of Sports. Because sports-loving people are not, you should not only have them when we're winning.
Right.
Yeah.
It should become a way of life.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you have sport for all, where you have parks and green spaces. And Kingston needs more green spaces.
Yes.
The rural parts needs more green spaces. So while I acknowledge and welcome construction,
The rural part need green
Need
spaces?
more green space.
absolutely, because they're not coordinated and they're not in safe spaces where people can. When I was growing up, and this is telling you my age, we had community centers.
Okay.
And so you could go to the community center to walk, to have a fair and so on. That don't exist no more. Drive through the country side and you'll see they're open lots, and that's not safe. So we're saying, you know, Emancipation Park, have equivalent of those, the clubhouses that have the cricket and the football. So it's physical education in
Yes.
schools. It is community activity, so people can become part of their own wellness
Okay.
and so on. And then once you have a process by which you play for your high school, primary school, your community, then you come to the national level. You know, we actually have these things in legislation.
We
And-
do.
Yes, we do. Yeah, man, to say how you must participate, how you become a national athlete. But we just, you know, we throw that aside and we just do what we want.
PE optional.
Exactly. When I went to school, I did PE twice a week. You must have at least 70 minutes of physical activity
Right.
for the 36 weeks you're in school. Because we're starting late in some instances. You know. Track and field has a model down pat.
Okay.
Football needs to actually adapt to that. And the
Oh.
grassroots need to be engaged. So while we do well at football, we start too late.
At high school? So we
Yeah,
should start from
too late.
should
We have to
start from the
yeah, man.
primary level.
Seven-year-old, this 7-year-old down in Sri Lanka start play cricket from then. You think we can beat them?
No.
No, talent is overrated.
I remember earlier in our conversation, you said that in the 90s, the allocation, the budgetary allocation from the state was about 10 million. Up to recently, it's now 1.1 billion, I believe you said. So apart from funding, what else can the state do to ensure that we derive the economic benefit from sport?
Incentives. Private sector has to do more investment at the development level, but the only way to get private sector to do that is to use incentives. So for example, if I'm in charge of Melbourne Cricket Club, forgive me, or Kensington, of both of which I'm members, and my clubhouse is more than 50 years old and I'm doing water harvesting, greenhouse technology, I can receive incentives to bring in equipment. And so if a company X gives $180 million to an event, and I'm sure you know what that is all about, they should get about 30% incentive. And those are models that are international. Pretty much like the film industry. When people come here to film, we have to provide incentives for them to return. And so you have to give back. And that's the only way, because you can't compete. You can't compete with the first world. I mean, a community in Miami can shut down a corridor to record a film. Jamaica can't do that.
No.
And so we have to find attractive incentives.
Jamaica has a world-renowned brand, so we are highly recognized. How can we monetize that brand?
Look at the One Love model. Paramount invested. They employed over 400 Jamaicans here in Jamaica.
Yes.
But they also employed, across the board, over 2,200 people. And the investment was 70 million. That's the
Okay.
reported figure. But since February 14, this show has been everywhere. There are opportunities like that. What now needs to happen is that we have to use Paramount, and I say that very flippantly, use Paramount to get other stories out.
Okay.
Puma has been here in sports for Jamaica as their national gear brand for many years. I don't think we have exploited Puma enough. We should have a facility here that has merchandise, that creates our own brand. We have designers. We have some of the best designers in the world. And so why are we not doing that? So while it is for track and field, the government has to be able to create an incentive package so that we can negotiate with Puma. And we have had them all. We had Reebok over the years. We had Adidas. We have Adidas for football. All the international brands are here. So why are we not doing more? Jamaica's name over the next decade or so has to be a money income earner. I mean, there are no two ways about that.
Right.
Because if we don't catch it in this generation, you know, we have to start all over again.
Okay.
And I think we have sufficient name. We can drop enough names now that we can do it. But broadcast rights is very critical, so we must fix up our venues that we can come. We have enough hotel rooms.
Yes.
We have to fix Trelawney multipurpose complex. We have access to 35,000 rooms down that side. It's easy, it's right there, 20 minutes from the Montego Bay Airport, which is one of our hubs. So little things like that.
So, Carole, here we are talking about how we can monetize sports, how we can monetize the Jamaican brand. But talk to a mother and a father who have children who are interested in sports.
All right.
What would you say to that parent, you know, who is concerned that it's not viable for them?
First thing, both those industries will grow over the next 15 to 20 years. That's the first thing. Allow your child to do physical education in school. So your body get accustomed to, you know, working hard. And they rest better, by the way. They're not as, you know, giddy and all them kind of things. Do the subjects, do a language, do art history, do a philosophy. Just do everything. And then when you reach it, decide. If they can't make it on the field, they can work with somebody who is good on the field.
Okay.
So sports is not just about the athlete, or entertainment is not just about the singer. You can design for them, you can be them graphic artist, you can be them photographer. I mean, telling a little story out of school, I took over probably 20,000 pictures of Usain when I worked as his publicist for 4 years.
20,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
And so everything they wanted, from Usain wake up to when him out the road, then we could have find a picture. But seriously, so you don't have to be the actual person doing the thing. The industry is so wide.
Okay.
I mean, when you think about it, I've collected data, so I have 3 books.
Yeah.
And you can do things nowadays. I mean, the guy Bootleg, and I
Yeah.
clearly
Rockstar.
give
Yeah,
Rockstar.
Bootleg Rockstar.
He's designing things for Sharika and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's not just getting work from Sharika, he's getting work from people who admire Sharika.
Yeah.
So there are a number of opportunities. So you just have to listen. You don't need more than 6, 7 subjects. Math, English, a language, information technology, because you have to learn to use a
That's
computer.
important.
And anything else. You can do zoology and still end up being a journalist.
Yeah.
So it's fine. You just have to go to school, do well, and come out and get to something. But exercise. Let me tell you something. Since COVID, because we have been locked up, and this is, you know, our non-communicable diseases have increased. So people need to go outside, go walk. Need to swim, learn to swim. So that's another thing, learn to swim.
You can swim,
Right?
Anna?
No, sir. I'm going to make the back big.
Why Jamaicans not love swim?
No,
like
we
the
have
swimming
to.
business.
And so children must participate in as many things as they can because the opportunities. So whether you're a lawyer, you can represent somebody. An entertainment law is a big thing. Whether you're an accountant, you get to do the books, you get to audit.
Yeah.
Even if you're a doctor, physical therapist, every team that's leaving Jamaica now needs a physical therapist,
Yes.
a massage therapist. You can do all those things. And GC Foster trains all those people. So you don't have to go to foreign to learn to do those things. You can do it right here. And so there's a lot of opportunities. So I'm saying in the next 10 to 15 years, we must train the people to work with the people we're producing on the field. And so that will make the industry of value, then we can monetize it, and then we can ask for the incentive. So that's really how it works.
And we have been speaking with Carole Beckford, sports researcher, marketer, and author, who told us today that, believe it or not, cricket is the #2 sport in the world based on viewership.
That's interesting.
Tell us it.
Stay with us. Centrally Speaking, we'll be back right after these messages. So today we spoke with Carole Beckford, sports researcher, marketer, and author. Here are the key points from the conversation. It's now time for Fast Facts. Number 1. The top 5 sports in Jamaica are football, cricket, track and field, netball, and basketball. Number 2. The Ministry of Education mandates that physical education at the primary school level should allow 70 minutes of play per week. A lot of play, right? During the academic year. High school track and field competitions started with Boys Championship in 1910. and Girls Championship in 1957. And the merged premier sporting event in Jamaica, ISA Boys and Girls Champs, commenced in 1999. The ISA Boys and Girls Championship celebrates the 25th year this year. Number 3. The 4 most popular international sporting venues in Jamaica are the National Stadium, Sabina Park, Trelawney Multipurpose Stadium, and Caymanas Park. Number 4. Jamaica has achieved 88 medals at the Summer Olympic Games since 1948. And number 5. The return on investment in football is greater than any other sport. Jamaica's male footballers first participated in the World Cup in 1998, and the females participated at the World Cup in 2019 and 2023. And that's it for our Fast Facts. And that's our program for this week.
Unfortunately, but before we go, you know, we want big up Arden.
I'm going to big up Glenmuir.
Yeah, I mean, big up the Arden who never hide and seek. Big up on yourself, please. And she, you know,
Yes.
a long time when I hear up the people at BOJ.
Ah.
Yeah.
All the team members of the HR division, big up yourself.
And ISD,
And
ITRM,
yes, ITRM.
massive big respect to you all.
And the wider BOJ family.
Big up on yourself. We're going to have a BOJ Sports Day.
Follow us on X and Facebook at Central Bank JA and at Central Bank Jamaica on Instagram. And on BOJ's YouTube channel, you can also visit our website at www.boj.org.jm.
And we invite you to send your questions, not sports questions, your economic questions on X or Facebook. And by the way, we offer our congratulations to the winners of the ISA Boys and Girls Championships. It's in the 25th year of the merged champs, 25 years already.
Yeah.
Yo.
And also congratulations to all the athletes who participated in the Carifta Games.
Yeah.
And of course, watch us again next week at the same time right here on your station when we will have another special guest. I'm Sheena.
And I'm Anna.
Thanks for watching.
See you next week.
Centrally Speaking is a production of Bank of Jamaica.